Hey, it's Edna here. Welcome to the Seven Figure Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. This is Edna with Seven Figure Real Estate. And today I have the pleasure to interview Aaron Fragnito from New Jersey. And he has a company called People's Capital Group. So I was on Aaron's podcast last week and we just hit it off. And there was just some stuff I felt like you guys needed to know. So welcome, Aaron. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Edna. Glad to be on the show here. I love your energy. And I think we just had a podcast last week on my podcast. So I'm so glad we can reconnect here. I'm getting a lot of you. This is exciting.
Yeah, me too. So Aaron, what got you started in the real estate world?
So I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's a pretty common story. And obviously that book talks about what wealth is, how wealth is created. I had just paid about $100,000 for a 4-year college degree in entrepreneurship. And I learned how to show up on time. I learned how to study when no one was making you study. I learned how to take care of myself. And, I learned what a franchise was and what debits and credits were. But you don't really learn, at least in my experience in college, how to create wealth, right? Which is so crazy because that's really why you're going to college, to create a wealth and a lifestyle that is enjoyable and build a career in one way or another. So, college teaches you how to work for someone. It teaches you kind of out of a book what business is, but that's real business is learned in trade. So when I had graduated from college with an entrepreneurial degree, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And senior year of college, I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad that my roommate had given to me, but never read. He said, "This is a really good book. You should read it." I read it, and now I own a nice multi-million-dollar real estate ownership. He didn't read it, and he didn't get where he wanted to be. So, we all have different paths in life, but it's amazing how one book can set you off on a journey here. And, I didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't have any money. I had my 4-year college degree and $150,000 in student loan debts and the wind on my back, right? So, so that was it. And I moved to Colorado and I taught kids how to ski at Steamboat Springs, Colorado for 6 months. And I lived there with my buddies and had a great time. And I read more books. I read the David Lindahl books. I read the Trump University books. I read everything I could, LoopNet. I was going on LoopNet and emailing brokers how do I put an offer? I was going to buy $1 million property. I didn't have any connections. So, totally just starting from scratch. And I made a list. I said, where do I want to be in 10 years? Okay, well, I want to have a net worth of $1 million. I want to have passive cash flow of $100,000. And I want to, have momentum in the real estate industry. So that was at the top of my goal list. I said, okay, at 10 years from now, that's the goal. And I worked my way down. What do I need to get there? Well, I need to make connections. I need to meet people. I need to earn an income, preferably in real estate, so I can put food on my own plate. I need to learn what a transaction is, what title is, what a short sale is, foreclosures. How do you fund a deal? How do you structure a deal? So I got my realtor's license. I said, okay, well, you know what? Let's start here. Let's start with a license. And I went back home from Colorado. I moved back home to New Jersey. Moved with my parents, which is what I had to do because the first year you don't make any money.
Yes.
And 2 years really. And, I hit the ground running. And in my first 6 months, I got my realtor's license and I made $500. So it was a really tough start. It was 2010. No one was really buying houses. You put a house on the market, no one would call it. You just have to keep dropping it until your seller hated you. So really tough market. But, I learned short sales. I learned foreclosure properties. I started teaming up with investors. And I learned from all these guys and gals that have been in the business for years. And, I learned from their mistakes and I learned from their successes. And eventually I said, hey, instead of me just selling you a building and making a few points commission, why don't we team up on this? And you bring in the capital. I'll manage the construction, some investments went great. Others had their challenges, but I built up from there. I always made good on my investments to my investors, no matter how the project went, learning and everything through the years. And those investors reinvest with me today. And we have about a $17, $18 million portfolio today.
That's wonderful. Well, I find too, Aaron, like so many people, they go that college route because that's what everybody knows. But yeah, you got to learn to study wealth from the wealthy. Professors, even for entrepreneurship, they've never been an entrepreneur probably. So it's all book learning. And I even tell my students, you can study till the cows come home, but it's not till you do a live deal that you're really even going to know what you know, right? And that's exactly what you did, right? Like you got in, you read a book, but you didn't stop there. You did the activities that needed to happen to get you to where you are today. So besides the book and then I imagine you have to pay off your college loans. That's a lot of money. What were some of the next things that really helped you? Like you said, you started partnering up with people who had the money, and then you managed the deal. Explain kind of how you set that up.
Sure. So essentially, these are people already investing in real estate or wanted to get invested in real estate. And, people say, how do you get, well, I think having a realtor's license was a great way to get started. Now, it's not for everyone. Being a realtor is tough work. My passion wasn't really in being a realtor, but I have to say by year 3, I was making 6 figures and had accelerated, far beyond a lot of my other friends who kind of just got into the financial industry and were working up the corporate ladder. So if you want to, right now, also being a realtor in this market, I mean, I always say, anyone can be a realtor in a good market. It's really not a hard job in a good market. In a bad market, it separates the. So but that was a great way to get started, and it really those individuals that were doing real estate knew they had their strengths, and I was known as the deal guy, right? So I didn't have any money. I really didn't have any experience, right? So I needed to develop my value, because you can't just knock on someone's door and be like, hey, let's partner up. You bring in all the money and I'll manage everything from A to Z. Don't you worry about a thing. It doesn't really work that way. You need to show your value. I was known as a deal guy. I got good deals. And if you source the deals, now there's rules and regulations. If you're a listing agent, you can't be getting in on your own deal and stuff. So, but if you're sourcing the opportunities, you can generally control, how the opportunity is played out. If you lock up an opportunity to invest in, put a property on a contract at a good price, well, you kind of make the rules at that point, as long as you are in the right position and you have the right relationships with individuals who have capital, right? And money, capital, right? It's such a thing. When you don't have any of it, it's so daunting. But money is just like cheeseburgers. It's a commodity, right? It's really, anyone and everyone has some of it. Some people have a lot of it. In fact, some people have so much of it, they need people like me and you to help them build their wealth. Without people like me and you, they wouldn't have a lot of it, right? It's really the people behind the scenes building up that wealth for the wealthy, making the wealth, and then helping also people get started in that position. Now, of course, it's always, there's always different types of investors, different types of stories, but for the most part, it's a team, and that's also part of raising capital, is explaining, hey, I'm not sitting here begging for your money. That's not how it works. This has to be a fit. You're hiring me, but I'm also hiring you in a sense to work together.
That is so true, Aaron. You really hit the nail on the head there, because that's one of the things that I discuss with my students too. You never want to be out there going, oh, you got all the money and I don't really have anything, and that sort of thing. And you got to go in with the confidence, but you get the confidence by really know what you're doing. And you must notice that, like, as you learned, and then you could talk to people with confidence. And that's what they're looking for. Lots and lots of people would love to invest in real estate, but don't have the wherewithal, first of all, to study it. They maybe already have a job or a business that's doing really, really well, and they just don't have the passion for real estate. They understand that it's a great long-term investment. I don't think I've talked to very few people that have read the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. It was a catalyst for a lot of us to get started. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really amazing. And I would say it's one of the quickest ways to really get wealthy too. And there's many, 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 many people that have done it over the years. So it's just understanding the process and then teaching the process a lot of times to potential investors. Do you find that as well, that you spend a lot of time educating?
Oh, of course. I mean, our job is to educate, right? We're essentially educators, and from 9 to noon, and then your operators,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm everything in a day. I can wear a lot of hats. And I think any good entrepreneur can wear a lot of hats very quickly. In a drop of a dime, I can become a property manager hat. I can be back to my deal man hat. And then I have to be an expert financier at certain points, putting together complicated transactions, explaining that to individuals. But yeah, I mean, our job is to kind of put very complicated things into layman's terms in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I work with really two groups of investors. I work with individuals that own tons of real estate, are very savvy, and I don't really have to explain to them what a cash out refinance is. And then I really work with the whole opposite end of the spectrum, people that have been investing in the stock market their whole life. And we're told being 100% in the stock market is good diversification, right?
Yeah.
By the guy who gets paid to keep their money in the stock market. It's so corrupt, the whole financial system. It really is. Your financial advisor is like, yeah, well, if you move your money out of my account, it's a bad choice. It doesn't make sense. A lot of people's financial advisors tell them, don't invest in real estate or don't self-direct your IRA, because they don't understand it or don't get paid to do that, right? If you're taking your funds out of their account, they're going to say it's a bad idea. So, it's about explaining to people what real estate is, the brick and mortar end of it. It's a solid asset. We're not a REIT, a real estate investment trust that's traded publicly on the stock market that shot down 80% in value during the coronavirus, right? We're a brick and mortar asset. You invest in a specific building. That building produces cash flow. We build the value of it over time. We refinance over time. Why is that tax-free capital? Why is the buy, renovate, refinance strategy maybe smarter tax-wise than selling the building over time? And, how do we compare to other real estate syndicates with our in-house management, our local purchasing strategy? So explaining all that in a 20-minute phone call while also building rapport, explaining our 10 years of experience, the infrastructure we have in place, and why that's worth us getting a piece of the pie as well. All in and making sure they're qualified too, right? The SEC requires us to qualify them as sophisticated or accredited investors. So that's and that all happens in our introductory call. Mm-hmm. And that's my sales hat, right? So, you got to go from being a property manager to a sales guy, and then you have to figure out online marketing and YouTube ads, and all on the same day. That's part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know what it is? It really is, and it takes a special person to do that. So, I don't know if I mentioned this, Aaron, but I used to be a financial advisor, so I can totally relate. And you can't give people advice on what you don't know, and you have to think about who trains you. It's, if you're trained, in my case, I sold mutual funds. So I was trained 100% by mutual fund companies. They spoke against real estate. They spoke against REITs, and it was just 100% pro mutual funds. And I didn't look outside the box. So I didn't know. And I was one of those advisors that used to say, oh, really? You want to invest in real estate? But when I really looked at real estate, then it was like, oh yeah, I want to invest in real estate. So to the point that I sold my practice within 2 years and went, yeah, I can't even sell that anymore. And now find it actually very easy to sell against mutual funds and stocks and bonds because of the volatility and really the whole handing your money over to somebody else and saying, look after me thing. It's in Rich Dad's book. He talks about building wealth by having other people pay off your assets. Tenants, yeah. Right? That is so powerful. He talks about getting out of the rat race by getting more income coming in on a recurring basis than your day-to-day expenses are. That's the kind of stuff that I think is so much more important than building up a $2-3 million portfolio that when the market cracks is going to go down to half, and then planning to live through that throughout your retirement. The whole buy, refinance, that sort of thing, tax-free money's coming into your account. It's all so powerful. So I can relate when you have to talk to people about that. So tell us a little bit more about People's Capital Group. How long has that been around?
So People's Capital Group incorporated in 2013, but my business partner, Seth Martinez, and I have been helping people invest in real estate since 2010. So really since the start. Seth had sold a medical billing company, so he had cash. I was the deal man, so I could source deals. So we teamed up and bought a 6 unit together and renovated it and leased it out for top dollar. And hired a couple bad management companies and figured out how to manage it ourselves over time. But we refinanced it, got all of our money back, paid back our investors nicely, and moved on to the next one. And we actually just, it's funny, we bought that property for like $230,000 or something like that years ago. I think it just appraised for like $850.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, we probably put 100,000 into it over the years, but still, I mean, just what an incredible asset. It produces cash flow, tax write-offs, and now it's worth what, 3-4 times we paid for it. Just real estate can, if it managed properly with the right resources, it's such a shame people put all their money in their IRA, their 401k, their whole retirement portfolio into a stock, which is not backed by brick and mortar anything. It's an idea, a lot of stocks are just
an idea. Yeah.
Funds that run off other funds based on other funds. If you look at The Big Short and movies like that, you understand how the 2008 collapse happened. And it's just so precarious. A lot of whatever these financial tools are being sold, and they don't even understand often. And they're thinking they're diversified, but they're 100% in a index fund. And what happens when the market corrects? So yeah, we absolutely not to go back and harp on that question, but it's just so interesting, the misguidance. And even in college, I was taught just put your money in an IRA and put it in the stock market. Right. My college advisor, after a 4-year degree in entrepreneurship, told me to go get a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car and start by cleaning cars. Now, listen, that's all about, starting at the bottom, working your way up. He was probably right. I'd probably own 6 Enterprise Rent-A-Cars by now. I'd probably be a multi-millionaire. But, that's not the point. The point is, I told him I wanted to get into real estate and do real estate. He's like, don't get into real estate. It's 2009, 2010. I was like, what do you mean? It's the best time to get in now. The prices are down. He's like, no, you want to get in real estate when it's up. I'm like, no, you want to get in when it's down.
I don't understand at all. Isn't that crazy? And to think that's the person teaching our people to be entrepreneurs. And you come out and they tell you, go get a job at a rental car company. Like that's just ludicrous in my world. Like, I just think that's crazy. My one daughter just graduated last year, and I have 2 more that are graduating this year, their last year. And I tell them their number one skill that they want to get is to learn how to sell. Not like anything can help you if you learn how to sell, because nothing happens till something gets sold, right, Aaron?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Sales is the number one skill set of value, I think, to any entrepreneur. There's Seth and I work so well together because I understand sales. I'm a sales guy. I'm a people person. Just put me in front of the room, but there's so much more behind that, right? The analytics of the business, the organization of it. And generally you're kind of good at one and not so good at the other. I get so bored with just the nitty gritty analytics of the business. I'm very invested in that, but of course it's not my specialty. Where it might
we can't be good at everything, can we? That's why we need team members and really powerful team members. That's why, like when you mentioned the building of the relationships over the years, that's what really takes people to the next level. Because you cannot, you can start out doing everything yourself, and quite often we all do. That's the way it works. But then you got to get more specialized to really make it happen for you, right?
Yeah, and it's scary sometimes when you hear people say, "Oh, well, sales is like a negative career. You don't want to be in sales or anything like that." Well, actually, the people that I know who are in sales, my buddy who's 26 years old and a commercial broker, just made $400,000 this year. So being good at sales can help, and the people who don't, I get it. Sales is tough. You got to be a people person. You got to kind of know your product. You got to know your person. I mean, the way I might talk to you would be completely different than how I'm going to explain our real estate fund to someone just getting started, exploring the idea of diversifying out of the stock market. So you got to know who's on the other side of the table. You have to know your product like the back of your hand. You have to love your product. You have to want it as well. You ever try to get sold something by someone who doesn't love their product, right? Or have passion for it?
Oh, yeah. Or even understand it. Absolutely. Yeah, totally makes sense. When you're in college, Aaron, did you get some training on sales, or is that something that they told you to just go do on your own after?
I mean, I've always been told I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I took 2 public speaking courses. Those were excellent. Mm-hmm. Public speaking is sales in a sense. Public speaking is hugely important to be successful in this space. Anyone who gets up in front of the room and doesn't speak confidently to the room is immediately recognized as something you're probably not going to invest in, really. Yeah, I mean, sales really wasn't taught to me in school. I never took a course on sales. It was never suggested to take a course on sales. I took calculus 2. I took statistics. I took logistics course about how to the inner depths of operating a factory for some reason. And I hated it. I never took a course on sales. I never took a course on wealth creation. I'm not knocking my school. I'm just saying the education system is backwards. It's outdated. It doesn't really get you ready for what it's telling you is supposed to get you ready for.
Yeah, I totally agree. The only thing it might do for some people is help them grow up over that 4 years. But you know what? 100%. You're going to grow up anyway. And it doesn't have to cost $250,000 to do it. That's why I'm not sending my girls to university. It's like, absolutely not. I said, you know what? Sales, get something in sales. And or follow, Tony Robbins and Bob Proctor around for the next year or two. To me, that's education. You get your mindset right, you can do everything else from there. And I wouldn't waste $1 on a university education. Makes no sense to me.
We have a foster child, and he's at the point of deciding now where to go with his career. And he's saying, well, I'm not really good at school. I don't like school. I really like electronics. I want to be an electrician. I said, be an electrician. I am paying my electricians out the wazoo. Exactly. These guys make more money. A licensed electrician. Oh my gosh, there's such a need for contractors, plumbers, electricians. If you're not good in school, do not waste the money. Because I also have friends that, now what do they have? Like a degree in some thing they really can't use. They really have no passion for it. I have a friend that did like social media marketing. They really like social media marketing, and in fact they just like scrolling through Instagram. So
a big difference, right?
Yeah. Oh man, be an electrician all day long over getting a college degree right now.
Construction. I know lots of people in construction too have done really, really well. So Aaron, tell us what's the best way for people to reach out and connect you or follow you? Do you have a social media following?
Sure. So we're at peoplescapitalgroup.com, and you can also find us at Real Estate Investments is our Facebook page, and People's Capital Group is our Facebook group. We have the Instagram, Twitter, of course, but really to learn more about us, you go to peoplescapitalgroup.com. We have our podcast up there. That's the Passive Cash Flow Podcast. You'll see our most recent episode, depending when this comes out, is Edna there, and very exciting episodes. So we like to put out a new episode every 2 weeks. We have webinars every month as well. And you can check out our new offerings there and get qualified to invest at peoplescapitalgroup.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, you know what, Aaron, this was an absolute pleasure to talk with you. We have a lot of things in common. I totally agree with the way that you're going. And just from hearing you talk, I know that you'll have great success over the years. So we'll definitely stay in touch. We're going to run into each other over the years, I'm sure.
Sounds great, Edna. Looking forward to connecting further. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks so much again for being on the show.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. It's my sincere intention that you got value from this episode. If you're interested in learning more about building your passive income through real estate, either by investing with us as a joint venture partner or as a student discovering how you can attract investors to your deals and build your own 7-figure real estate portfolio by helping others build their passive income, check out my website, ednakeep.com, or watch my free masterclass at ednakeep.com/90days to 5K.